Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Hickey, it's my understanding from talking with a physician in my district recently that the coding that's used when you talk about records and the adjudication process, that the coding model, and that may not be the right phrase, that is used, whether you're a private physician or whatever, is 1940s vintage. Is that in the ballpark in terms of diagnoses or whatever? And he said it in the context of it's hard for a physician in 2013 or 2012 or whatever, when they're writing stuff for VA, to have to try to make it fit with a 40s vintage coding model. And if that's true, and if it's not, just say, hey, it's not true, and I'll accept that. But if it is true, then what's being done to kind of bring us up to the point where everybody's talking the same medical language?
Congressman, I appreciate your question, and also the visit that you had with our staff this week as well to learn more about what we're doing in Nevada as well. I have a limited knowledge on this, but I will share with you what I know. There are two different sort of diagnostic code processes, and I think this is what you're addressing. One the VA uses and one that sort of private medical folks use. It's my understanding that there's an effort ongoing to see if they can map those two kinds of things together to facilitate a common understanding of those different diagnostic codes. Beyond that, I will have to take the rest for the record, and I'm happy to do so to get you an answer.
Okay, thank you. Also, the mandatory overtime for claims is obviously something that's out there on the record. Before that decision was made, was there any cost-benefit analysis done, mandatory overtime? And I'd be curious as to what the projected cost for that is. I think it's supposed to run for a specific time. Mr. Takano and some of the Texas folks said, you know, that they had strike teams there and were looking for resources. Was there any cost-benefit analysis done to mandatory overtime versus, you know, giving money to those states with task forces or something else other than just saying, hey, guess what, we're all going to turn out all hands on deck for a little bit longer?
Congressman, we have actually long used overtime as a significant quiver in our arrow in our quiver. We last year were for a period of time, albeit a shorter period of time, in mandatory overtime for compensation claims folks. We have also, until recently, with the automation that arrived, thankfully, in September 24th of last year, that allowed us to get the education claims inventory down significantly to the point where we're doing a bulk of that work in about 5 days. We used to have to put our education claims processors in mandatory overtime, not for a short period of time, but for almost 3/4 of the year. The reason why it's a good use of that resource is because it takes about 2 years to get someone to a journey level capability to be able to adjudicate these cases. And thanks to Chairman Miller's holding of the roundtable last week, we had the opportunity to talk to some industry partners who also shared with us it takes them about the same amount of time, 18 months to 2 years, to get someone to adjudicate these kinds of claims. So it is the best, albeit I'm asking a lot from our employees, but we have tried to do it in a way that's sensitive to the fact that they can't just burn straight till the end of the fiscal year. They have to have a moment of reprieve to catch their breath, to spend a little time with the, family vacation time. So we have allowed in the process some flexibility, actually have provided in the process some flexibility for those 20 hours a month, including electing a month where you do not have to do that mandatory overtime.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm down to about a minute. I didn't hear a lot about cost-benefit analysis. I do appreciate the historical data, though. And finally, when you talk about resource allocation model, and I was interested to hear that my colleagues from the Golden State, Mrs. Brownlee, and that talking about L.A. and Oakland, but unfortunately, the only regional office that serves the state of Nevada is one that's gained some distinction lately, and I appreciate you making your staff and Ms. Rubens available and look forward to working with you. But when I look at that office and see that resources have been cut in terms of personnel and budget, I just want to say I look forward to you visiting the office. I look forward to hearing what you think after you've got that visit under your belt, but I still find it very curious that resources are being cut in an office which in some way leads the nation in ways that we don't want to. And so I'll look forward to talking with you after you've visited Reno, because my time's up and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.